Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. You're here with us, your beautiful hosts, once again, Carlo and Zach. Carlo, what's going on this beautiful Sunday morning?
What is up? We're back in a heat wave, big time heat wave. It's a scorcher out there, folks. Holy moly! Stay cool, drink water, and
The
more
humidity
stay cool.
is 130% outside. I can confirm it is terrible, especially with that rain last night, man.
It's just like we're at that point where you have to like read the fine print on the weather app, where it's like, oh, it feels like 79. It's like, wow, and then you read the fine print, it's like feels like 99. It's like, oh, okay, all right, that changes things.
Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into everything, Carlo, on this brand new episode. But before we do, obviously, we got to announce thank you to everyone for joining us on this brand new episode. Again,
Sir.
If you are returning, if you are brand new, thanks for stopping by and joining us on this brand new episode. If you are viewing or listening to us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and hit that notification bell. That lets you know when these brand new episodes come out, as well as our short videos. And then follow us on all the major social media platforms like the TikToks, the X's, the Instagrams, the Facebook, the Threads. We're putting all of our content on all those platforms so that you guys have something going on this summer and can catch up on everything Detroit Red Wings hockey and everything NHL. And so, Carlo, we're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You guys can follow us on there, rate us the 5 stars, leave us some comments on Spotify as well. You guys are doing a great job at that, and we're going to be putting out a lot more too this summer. So we're doing a bunch of midweek episodes as well. Earlier this week, we put out an all-time lineup. Carlo didn't like it. He did his own.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's not that I didn't like it. I just, different strokes for different folks, everybody.
I get that. 100%. No, and I thought yours was good too. Go ahead and watch that video. Go ahead and leave us a comment on that video of what you think the all-time Detroit Red Wings lineup should be in your eyes. It could literally be any player. Carlo hated me for not putting Sid Abel in there. I definitely could have. I just wanted to hit the key pieces that I thought were the glue guys, so to say.
Hey, you know what? This whole thing just kind of goes to show you how spoiled we are as Wings fans. The amount of names that have played for this team, whether it was for a season, 2 seasons, 20 seasons, spoiled. And to make a team was eye-opening. Like something I think people who are like super hating on this team right now should probably go and do just to calm the nerves, because boy, oh boy, spoiled rotten when it comes to this team, this franchise, and just following them, for however many years you've been following them for. So fun to do. And there is no right answer to this. That's the whole beauty of it. I've seen 4 or 5 different takes of it that are completely different. And each one you're just like, my goodness, like, it's just, that is nasty. So, take it for what it's worth, folks. It's the end of July. We're all chomping at the bit here. Withdrawals have set in. These are the things we do to get by. So hang with us.
What are we doing today to get by, Carlo? We are going to be touching on some Detroit Red Wings trade rumors and some potential trade targets that the Red Wings could be going after this offseason or potentially even in the future, right? So there's a lot going on right now, a lot of rumor mill stuff, a lot of talk, right? And that's what we're here to do, is try to agree or disagree, vouch or debunk whatever these rumors say, and see if it actually makes sense for the Detroit Red Wings and Steve Yzerman to go out and acquire these certain players.
Yeah.
Carlo, let's just go ahead and jump into it. And the first player, let's just go ahead and start with Jason Robertson. Everyone knows Jason Robertson. Everyone's talking about Jason Robertson over at the Dallas Stars and what Jim Nill is going to do with him. For those who don't know who Jason Robertson is, yes, he is a Dallas Star. He is 26. He is 6'3", 201 pounds. This past season in 82 games, put up 35 goals, 45 assists for 80 points. 2 seasons ago was his season high in goals, assists, and points in 82 games, 46 goals, 63 assists for 109 points. And very close to being a consistent point per game playoff player too. Yep. This past playoffs, he put up 6 points in 11 games, but before that, the previous 2 seasons, 16 and 19, and then 18 and 19 as well. Carlo, what would a Jason Robertson do for this team, and why you believe it makes sense to go out and acquire a Jason Robertson?
So I think it obviously fills an immediate need that we have, which is that that top line. I mean, I'm sure you're going to go through a list of names today, and we're on number one, only on number one, and I'm probably going to put this out there, possibly regret it, but this is the one that makes the most sense and the one that I would be like, yeah, we're done. Like, let's go and do that, and we're done. He just fills that immediate need. His age, it's perfect. I think being 26, maybe it's a year too much, but I don't even care because of what everything you just laid out in terms of his point totals, his playoff play, and just who he is and the brand behind the name. He's the real deal, and I think that he would fit in really, really, really well in that top line, and that's exactly what we need. So, for me, why I would do it and why it makes the most sense is obviously the need, but his age. You got to be very careful with who you go and get and where you're going to put them in the lineup because of their age, and it goes. You kind of got to look at the flip side too. It's like, well, who are we giving up to go and get this guy? Listen, if we do get Jason Robertson, which is a stretch, I'll say that, it would take a haul, like a big haul. So you almost need to compare, like, okay, who are we trading? We're obviously going to be trading picks for sure, but prospects. So it's like you look at the age of that prospect, you're like, well, what is this guy going to be when he's 26? And you almost got to play that game with yourself to really figure out, is this going to hurt us long term or is this going to benefit us long term? Jason Robertson's probably the one guy out of who we're going to look at today that I think is like a no-brainer.
Correct.
That's my take. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing that people got to understand too is after this season, if you were to go out and trade for players, the longest you could extend them for would be 7 years. So if you go out and trade for Jason Robertson now, you could extend him for the 8 years with the Detroit Red Wings. With that being said, you mentioned the age, 26. That would carry him until he's about 34, maybe 35 years old. His birthday is July 22nd. So yeah, it would carry him until he's at least 34 years old. This is a top line player. This is a guy who could be a difference maker. I would not be afraid between the ages of 30 and 34, if he were to sign an 8-year deal with us, that's going to affect this team in any way, shape, or form, other than he's still going to be a top 6 player for us in that age range when we get to that point. So I would agree with you overall. I'm just going to reiterate and say, yeah, this is the player that I would 100% smack down and offer a trade to. But like you mentioned, it comes down to how much do you have to give up? What does Dallas want? Assuming, like you mentioned, they probably want an elite prospect back, one that fits in the top 6 role by the time that they get to that age 26 or even as early as 24. Could that be someone like Nate Danielson, Michael Brandzig-Nygaard, maybe someone like Amadeus Lombardi, but not as high as the other two guys, right? Or even maybe someone like Sebastian Cossa, right? But there are options there where we can fulfill a trade.
They may want ASP because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, as always, folks, but I believe Dallas needs some right-handed D prospects. I think they do. Like, that might be a need that they have where they might put that like right to number 1 in terms of a return, which, I mean, then you get into some interesting conversations because like I said earlier, it's like, well, what is ASP going to be when he's 26? So it's like, that's where the juggling happens. And I mean, hey man, maybe that's why there hasn't really been any moves made up until this point. Like, I think it's evident that Detroit needs to make a trade. I think everybody knows that. It's probably the worst kept secret, but it hasn't happened yet. And maybe that's why. Maybe they're in that juggling stage or, trying to project, who we're giving up and what are they going to look like, or maybe they're just all in their cottages, Lake Joe, just hanging out, having fun on their boats. It could be that too.
Yeah, I would overall agree with you, Carlo, that whatever Dallas is asking for, it's going to hurt our souls having to give up. But that's the exchange. That's the equivalent 100%. Exchange that you would have to make for a player who is a top line fixture on any team. You could trade him to any team. He would be on that top line. So you have to give up that type in return to get that player in return. I would agree. Moving along, let's go ahead and talk about some Pittsburgh Penguins players. And we're going to start with Bryan Rust, who is 33. He is a Michigan native who was born in Pontiac, Michigan. He's 5'11", shoots right, 192 pounds. And in this past season, had a career high in points and actually in goals, and then tied in assists. In 71 games, he put up 31 goals, 34 assists for 65 points on a really, really, really bad Pittsburgh Penguins team. Bryan Rust, to me, on the Detroit Red Wings, he does fit in that top line left wing position. Do I believe that that's what he is overall? No, especially at this point with his age. If we would have gotten him 2 years earlier, I would probably say that he is a top line player, but mostly just for the Detroit Red Wings. But same question as I asked for Jason Robertson. Your thoughts on a Brian Rust and how he fits on this team, and then talk about what you think it would take to acquire a Brian Rust.
Well, I don't think it would take anything painful to acquire Brian Rust as it would with Jason Robertson, like we just talked about. Like, I feel like that one would be like a huge inhale and a even bigger exhale. But with Brian Rust, I don't think it would require much. You know, let's address the elephant in the room real quick. This guy's playing with Sidney Crosby. So, I mean, is he just benefiting from the Sidney Crosby effect? Similar to how some players who played with McKinnon have benefited from that and had the McKinnon effect. And guys I think about are JT Compher. I believe before JT Compher came to Detroit, he was paired up with McKinnon for a little while during, I forget who got injured. It was during their cup run. Somebody got injured and he got paired up with McKinnon. And like, there you go. Now JT Compher's going off. Those two guys are like Crosby and McKinnon are just, they make anybody around them better. Zach, they would make you and I look like absolute studs. Yeah. And I can assure you without them, we are not. We are not. But I digress. I don't know, man. Brian Rust, his age freaks me out. He's 33 years old. It's not a shot at him. Like, he is playing, he is hanging, and he's doing well. I just think a lot of that comes from playing with Sid the Kid. I can just see it, man. You go on, Detroit Red Wings going to acquire Brian Rust. We're looking at these, 58, 46, 56, 65 point seasons. Mm-hmm. I don't think he replicates that in Detroit just based on the supporting cast. 33 years old. This is where you really got to look at what you're giving up. I said I don't think it would take anything hurtful to give up, but to get him. But at that point, you're just like, well, is it even worth it? Because at that age, man, I don't know. What's he got left on his deal?
Hey, on top of the age, you would have him, if you were to trade for him today, you have him for this season and 2 more seasons after that. So you would essentially take him until he's 36 with a 5.125 cap hit. He shoots right, can play either left or right wing too. And I kind of keep saying this, especially about the defense. I want it to be symmetrical. I like everything to be even. I want all 3 right-handed defensemen on the right side. I want all left-handed defensemen on the left side. Same thing with the forwards too. Like, I see that we have Alex DeBrincat playing left wing. Okay, yeah, you're shooting off your off wing. It makes more sense that way. Brian Rust, okay, are we really going to do the same thing? But then you look at your top 3 winger spots, they're all right-handed shooters. Does that really matter? No, that's just me kind of nitpicking a little bit, but it primarily comes down to the age. And I actually will disagree with you that I think that Pittsburgh would ask a decent haul for someone like Brian Rust, because with the cap going up, this cap hit's really not going to mean much, especially if you don't. Let's say they didn't trade him right now and you looked at it from the perspective of next offseason. Almost every team has cap. So the $5 million to acquire a top 6 player for you is going to be chump change. But in order to get him, what you're going to have to give up, I think a team that truly needs help on the top 6 and just add more depth and has to push someone to that 3rd line is already a cup contending team. And they give up like a first. I think if you're the Detroit Red Wings, you probably have to give up a second and probably a prospect for someone like Brian Rust, Carlo, to be honest.
A second and a prospect? Okay. So, I mean, I would pass. Personally, like, if that's what it would take, like I'm good.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because, I mean, the last, what is that? That's 6 seasons since 2019-20. He's put up 20 plus goals every single season.
I know, and I don't want to take away from that. Like, I really want to be careful here because I don't want to sewer the guy, or like, he's a good player. And I'll be honest with you, and I'll say it. He's one of my fantasy hockey sleepers, man. Like, whether it's flexing him on the waiver wire or taking him super late round, like he does come in clutch for fantasy hockey. And I do like Brian Rust, the player. But Brian Rust on the Detroit Red Wings, I don't think can replicate what he's done in Pittsburgh because of the guys he's playing with. I just don't, and I could be way off. I could be wrong. I just don't see it. But you know what? Kudos to him for potting over 31 or 30 goals. You got 31 goals this past season. That's unreal. And I mean, I'm just a second in a prospect for me, dude. I don't think I'm doing it. unless I'm unless there's like that's the only available option, which it's not the case, then maybe. But I just to see him on the top line left wing, is that where you would put him in the lineup too?
Honestly, for me, I would start it out that way. But then if it's not working out as best as I would have hoped it would, I don't think that there's any issue with putting him down on the second line, because then it would be him, Casper, and then Kane.
Yeah. So the other thing outside of his age is he's 5'11".
Yeah, not the biggest guy.
And that's one thing I didn't mention with Robertson. Like he's over 6 foot. He adds size, and that's what I think this we need. We need we got to find that perfect combination of the right player at the right age who's got size, because our top six is already so small. I don't know. For me, I'm passing on Brian Rust. Nothing against him. I just don't know if he fits well with the team. I think he's already aged out if he were to come into this lineup. And for me, the haul, what you got to trade and everything like that, I'm out on.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you, Carlo, that I would be out on a Brian Rust, even with a second and a prospect. And that's probably what Pittsburgh Penguin fans at a minimum are asking for. You go on Puck.
Sure they are.
You can play Puck GM. You can look at some of the trades, and a lot of those Penguin fans are asking for a first at minimum, right? And I'll disagree with that. I think for someone at his age, currently right now, in the way that the NHL is going, I think a second and a prospect would be more than fair from any team to acquire a Brian Rust. But I'm agreeing with you. I don't see a fit for Brian Rust on the Detroit Red Wings currently right now. So let's go ahead and move over to his defensive teammate, Erik Karlsson, the right-handed, right-shooting defenseman who is 6 foot, 190 pounds. This past season, he put up 53 points in 82 games, 11 goals, 42 assists. Once again, on a really bad Pittsburgh Penguins team. However, his plus-minus does not do him any favors either. It's pretty much all offense with an Erik Karlsson, and his $10 million cap hit originally was $11.5 million. 15% of that got retained. So, Carlo, if the Detroit Red Wings were interested in an Erik Karlsson, and if Steve Yzerman wanted them to retain some cap, the Pittsburgh Penguins, meaning, they could only retain 35% of his remaining contract. Thus, meaning the cheapest we could get him in a trade deal would be $6.5 million. Your thoughts overall on an Erik Karlsson? Kind of fits a need for the Detroit Red Wings right now on the defensive end, especially on that right-handed D side. Can provide points, much like we always say that we need, but that counteracts the defense part of it that we always mention that the Red Wings desperately need to do going into this season, especially 5-on-5 and then on the penalty kill. But your thoughts on an Erik Karlsson, how he fits? Would you want him? What does it take to get?
I honestly, when this whole thing started, I was really hesitant on Erik Karlsson, and I wasn't really a huge fan of it. But then when I actually started to think about the logistics behind it and what he could bring to the table, I know he's 35 years old. I get that. But to Zach's point and what he just did with Pittsburgh in 24-25 on that team is impressive. The guy's an all-world skater, man. Like, he's unreal. He's great on the power play. And I think if you were to bring in a guy like Erik Karlsson, I think he would outperform what Ghost did for us 2 seasons ago. I think he'd be a lot better. I know the defensive flaws are there, but I'm hoping that if this team as a unit is taking steps to play better defensive hockey, then we're not going to feel it as much, so to speak, in terms of Karlsson's gaps on the defensive game. But I think he would be a really nice addition to the blue line. Obvious reasons, he shoots right. And then you look at his age and his term and everything like that. It's the perfect stopgap for ASP, because Correct. I think we're all seeing Erik Karlsson and we're hoping that, ASP can sort of become an Erik Karlsson type of player. So, I guess the way I'm looking at it is, if we already kind of have this spot, this right-handed D spot typecasted with ASP, why not bring in the guy who's done what we want ASP to do for a couple of seasons to fill that role, that typecasted role, so to speak, and play on the team? I'm for it. I don't know what it would take to get him. I think that all depends on how much Pittsburgh's retaining. It would be really nice if we could get him for 6.5, which would be the max. I guess you're saying the max amount that Pittsburgh could retain to get him to 6.5 for us. I would be all over that. Now we can talk about the why, now it's the how. What do you think it's going to take to get something like that done?
One thing that I wanted to mention too about an Erik Karlsson is that not only is he filling a spot for you on that second pair right-handed D side, but he's also going to be kind of filling a hole on your power play 1 unit as that guy who's going to be the point producer over on that blue line. Yeah, we do have Simon Edvinsson. We do have Moritz Seider as well, but neither of those guys truly have established themselves as true power play 1 quarterbacks. Maybe you can make the argument with Seider because he's so good at feeding the puck to people, but if we want someone who could clap it at that blue line when he does get that opportunity to rip it, then that's Erik Karlsson all day long.
I was just you said that too, and I was just thinking about it. Like, when's the last time you seen somebody bomb a shot from the blue line? Like, it's been a long time that we've had that true, power play specialist who's clapping it from the blue line. It's just been so long. And it would be really nice to see that again in the red. So yeah, I'm all for it, man. The more I think about it, the more I think it makes sense. It just comes down to what we're giving up. How do we go and acquire this guy? I really hope it doesn't start with a first. I really hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
So thank you for bringing that up, because I did want to bring up his most recent trade history. The most recent one that landed him in Pittsburgh would be that the Pittsburgh Penguins acquired Erik Karlsson, Dylan Hemeliak, I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably not. Grill me in the comments. And a 2026 third-round pick. So that pick hasn't even been made yet. And this is a 3-team trade with the Canadiens as well. I believe it was either the Sharks or Canadiens. They took on the 15%. It's not saying for me here. But the Sharks acquired Mikael Granlund, Mike Hoffman, Jan Rutta, and a 2024 first-round pick. Reminder, this was 2 years ago. Erik Karlsson is now 2 years older. And when he got traded, that was after his 100-point season as well. Now, if I were the Detroit Red Wings to slightly match what they gave up, and I'm going to try and do my best here, I would say Michael Rasmussen. I would probably say Wallander or Bouillon. And then see if you can get around maybe with like a second or two. Try to avoid the first. See if you can give them 2 seconds, or maybe a second and a third.
Second and a third.
Lowballing it there.
Second and third, Rass and Wallander or Bouillon. I mean, his point totals are cut in half at this point than that 100-point season. So I can understand why he hauled that in 22-23 or 23-24, whenever that was.
This is also with them retaining $3.5 million. And the only reason why I would have them retain that much too is because they're going to have a lot of cap next season. It's no secret that they're now going into their rebuild mode. And so they have the floor they have to meet as well. And so you might be able to get away with attaching someone like Justin Hall so that they have cap to cover, taking away that 6.5 on top of Michael Rasmussen.
That would be very interesting trade.
Go about this.
Yeah, I think it would be very interesting. That's why it's so hard to even predict. It'd be very interesting to piece that one together. I think you're probably close. I feel like they would either want a first-round pick or they would want a elite prospect back, especially if they're retaining some money. I don't know if Rass, Wallander, or Bouillon. Like, I don't know if Wallander or Bouillon are elite level prospects. I don't think they are, personally. Grill me, but I just don't see it.
Neither of those 3 players that were traded to the Sharks were elite players outside of Mikael Granlund, who clearly is no longer with the Sharks. Jan Rutta, he might still play with the Sharks. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest, off the top of my head. But the main piece is was that they got that first-round pick out of it. So they really didn't get too many good players in return.
I think that's why. Is it because they got that first-round pick? So I mean, if we're avoiding a first-round pick and we're going second and third, I think you're going to have to beef up your prospects going back. Otherwise, if you only want to give up a second and a third, you're going to have to give up an A-level prospect. That's just my feeling on it. I mean, you got to respect the name Erik Karlsson, man. Like, the guy's a stud. He's just unreal career.
Before we move on, real quick. Yay or nay, would you take on Erik Karlsson's full $10 million if the cost to acquire him was a lot less?
Which I think is a realistic thing. You know what? Think I would, because it's short. 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Cap's going up next season. We would just really need to trust our offense this season to do that, because it kind of puts us in a position where we don't really have that much wiggle room now, and we'd have to put we're putting all our eggs in the offense basket. And again, we've had this conversation where we thought about Casper going to the top line wing to fill that spot, which I think he could do, and Andrew Kopp coming into the second line. If that was something that was like a realistic outcome or something that they're planning on doing, then I would be cool with this, because I'm looking at it, I know it's a 2-year deal, but I'm looking at it as like 1 season, and then we go and address some holes again next offseason when the cap opens right up. So I guess the question comes down to, do I trust the offense? To be honest with you, I do. I think these guys can score goals. I think that the young guys are going to take steps like we've talked about on several episodes in the past. And for those reasons, I want to say I would do it if it means that we're not giving up as much, because I think it fills the spot that we need to be filled.
I would agree with you. And we've talked about it multiple times that not this season, but the following season. So the 26-27 season, the Red Wings are going to have just about $44 million in cap space. So taking on the full 10 without giving up any of the players on this roster, you're still going to have $34 million going into next season. So that's going to be more than enough to still get a decent top line player, hopefully on the forward end, right? And then you could still hopefully improve the defense while extending Simon Edvinsson too. So I think that would be more than fine. I would agree with you. Carlo, let's go ahead and move on to the final Pittsburgh Penguin player, which is Ricard Rakell, basically a doppelganger of Brian Rust, who shoots right. He's 32 years old, 6'1", 203 pounds, so he's a little bit bigger. He's still got 3 more years left on his contract, so this year and then 2 more years after that. And then in this past season, he put up 70 points in 80 games, so that's a career high for him as well. 35 goals, 35 assists. Both actually are career highs. He matched actually the assists back in his days with Anaheim in 2017 and 2018. And his cap hit comes in at $5 million, Carlo. I'll start with this one. I'm just going to copy and paste essentially what we said for Brian Rust and keep it short and sweet. That I don't like the age. I like the player, 35 goals, but it kind of goes back to that because both Rakell and Rust are wingers for Sidney Crosby. So is that Sidney Crosby effect there? I think there is slightly. How much, I really don't know, but we've seen it plenty of times. Like you've mentioned, Carlo, you said it earlier, so I'm not going to try and re-say it. Overall, I'm saying no. The cost of acquiring a Rakell, it would be more than Rust. I think at minimum, they would want a first at the very least for Ricard Rakell, especially for someone who just put up 35 goals. And then for Pittsburgh, they just got to say he could do it again. He's going to be a consistent 30-goal scorer for you guys. But also for 3 more years, the cap hit really doesn't worry me, but I just don't think that he's going to be able to sustain that for the next three seasons. So for that, I'm out.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with you, man, at all. Short and sweet, same kind of reasoning as Brian Rust. Love the player. Again, he's another guy that I consider all the time in fantasy hockey, just because I know he comes in and he can play and he can score and he can produce. But the age, I just think he's already aged out. And when you look at what we'd have to give up, I don't think it's worth it. I think if we're giving up something that makes us go like, oh my God, what are we doing? The player needs to be 25, 26, a really good producer with some size and a little bit of grit as well to really identify everything that we truly need. So I'm out on Rakell too, personally.
Just wanted to throw out a little giggle there. Do you know who his agent is?
Ricard Rakell's agent? No, I don't.
Claude Lemieux.
I'm even more out. No, I'm just joking. I know he represents Cider too.
Next up is Jared McCann. And then next up on the board, we have Jared McCann, who comes over from the Seattle Kraken, 29 years old, shoots left, 6'1", 185 pounds, with a cap hit at $5 million for 2 more seasons, this season and then next season. So by age 31, his contract will be over. In this past season, he put up 61 points in 82 games for 22 goals and 39 assists in a down year, technically, Carlo. I mean, the Seattle Kraken, ever since their inaugural season, they've kind of dwindled down because you look back at when they made the Stanley Cup playoffs back in 22-23. That was his best season as a player. I mean, Seattle, for him, overall as a player, has done magical wonders because ever since that season, he's just put up the points, been a consistent 60-plus point player. But in that season, 22-23, 40 goals, 30 assists for 70 points in 79 games played.
That.
Holy moly, dude was on fire.
Yeah.
What a change of scenery does for a player. And so, Carlo, you know the questions. Does he fit with the Detroit Red Wings? Because I would say he does. I think he would be a great candidate for that top line role. His contract comes in super short. The cap hit comes in super nice. And then I do believe that potential to get the 25 to 30-ish goals is still there with someone like a Jared McCann. And he's the only other thing that I don't like about him, or the thing that I don't like about him, is that he's on the smaller side in terms of weight, 85 pounds. Maybe he's still pretty good about getting people off the puck or making sure that people are bouncing off of him when he has the puck. I would have to go and watch some film on him. But one thing that I also really wanted to mention that I like too, he could play center.
Yeah.
If push comes to shove for us too. But your overall thoughts on a Jared McCann, Carlo?
I like it. I think there's something there. 29. What has he got? 1 year left on his deal? 2 years left on his. Yeah. Like I think this one would be an interesting one. I think there could be something there. Here's why I like it. Look what he's done with Seattle, with the supporting cast in Seattle. Like, I'm trying to draw the parallels between the supporting cast in Seattle versus the supporting cast in Detroit. I think he can replicate what he's done in Seattle, because I think he's kind of self-made. I think Jared McCann is self-made. I don't know if Brian Rust and Ricard Rakell are quite self-made. Maybe Rakell. He's got some flashes of some raw skill and talent, but I think McCann is definitely self-made in the sense that he can do it, because he's currently doing it on a team without a cast. So yeah, I like this one, dude. I think this one could be interesting. I think he's on the second line, left wing in Seattle. So change of scenery, playing on the top line, at least getting some looks to see what that looks like with Larks and Ray. Yeah. But what I like about it the most, and this is what I love about Marco Kasper, is the versatility. You just mentioned it. He can play center as well. I think we have to be very strategic in who we bring in, because we have these players that are casted out to play one position, and we've seen it for 3 years now where that one guy goes out and we don't have someone who can pivot. And I think we're starting to see a trend in who we're bringing in, and let's call it pivotability, and being able to kind of, I can go and jump into the center mix. I can go back and play wing mix, whatever. So I like this one a lot, and I'd be very interested in seeing what it would take to get this guy on Detroit. I think that there's a fit there for sure.
Not only from Steve Yzerman's standpoint, but I would say too, in your word, what was the word you just used?
Pivotability.
And I think that is something that Tom McClellan also wants in his players too, because we've seen that happen where players got shifted and moved around during the season when he came in as the coach, right? And I do see a world where if you have the option to move Marco Kasper over to the wing, because now you have someone like a Jared McCann who could play center, obviously you're going to put there whoever is better on the faceoffs and just better at the center position and a better 200-foot game.
Allows you to play matchups better too, right?
But from that standpoint, I would agree with you. And then also going into next offseason, then that's where someone like Andrew Kopp or even like JT Compher can become more expendable, because now you have someone like Jared McCann for one more season, and then you're ditching on someone like Andrew Kopp who would have like 2 more seasons, or JT Compher who has 3 more seasons. If you can get around that somehow, then yeah, I would say it's a good deal. But to acquire someone like this, Carlo, I think it starts with the first. At the very least, maybe you can get around with doing like a pretty decent prospect like Amadeus Lombardi in then 2 seconds. I think you might be able to get something done like that. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Lombardi in 2 seconds. I mean, that's a haul. I mean, that would be I think on the right track of what the return would be. And then you go back to that game that we like to play here, where it's like, well, where's Ammo when he's 29? Like, what is he going to look like? Which is a very good question, because he's one of those guys where I like him a lot, but I just have a hard time seeing what he's going to become. Seeing is believing with that guy, I guess. But yeah, if you're telling me right now, hey, the deal is Ammo in 2 seconds for McCann, I don't think I would do it.
It is a lot to swallow, especially since we already given up a 2027 second round pick for John Gibson. So then at the very least, Seattle would probably be asking for a 2026 and a 2028. I doubt they would ask for a 28 and a 29. And so for that reason,
I don't see them going out that far.
And because of that, I actually would agree with you. I think because of what Amadeus Lombardi did, and I was just speaking in terms of what Seattle may be asking for. I don't feel comfortable doing that because I actually do believe Amadeus Lombardi, because based on what he did last season, I think it was 44 games, he put up 41 points. That's really good. Like based on the percentage, he had the highest percentage in points for any Grand Rapids Griffins player last season.
Yeah, I know, dude. And if it's not ammo, then Nate, absolutely not. I honestly think Nate Danielson can outperform Jared McCann when he's 20 when Danielson's 29.
I would agree with you.
You know what I mean? So no, absolutely, I would not touch Danielson there. And then you start getting into the other guys, the MBNs, some of the newer ones. If Jared McCann was doing this and he's 25, 20, yeah, I'm down. I'm 100% down. But then the return's not going to be ammo in 2 seconds. It'd be a lot higher because his age.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. Like it's timing, man. Like yeah, would he be a good fit on this team? 100%. But the timing, it's not there. I don't think it makes sense.
Steve Yzerman, if you're watching or listening, make that trade happen, but do it for less. Maybe get rid of ammo out of that trade. Just send like a second and a third. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Go and wave that magic wand that you keep saying you don't have. We know you have it. Just go and wave it.
Yeah, didn't you see that on the thumbnail? He definitely has that magic wand and that crystal ball.
That's right.
Let's move over to another Seattle Kraken and Jamie Oleksiak. So here we're finally getting to the size, Carlo. 32 years old. He's a defenseman. He shoots left. He's 6'7", 256 pounds. Comes in at a cap hit of $4.6 million.
Big boy.
He is on his final year of his 5-year contract. This past season, Carlo, he put up 17 points in 82 games, 4 goals, 13 assists. When I look at those numbers, I think Ben Sherratt, okay? That's just my thought. However, I did some due diligence last night, and Jamie Oleksiak, he is a heavy hitter player, and that is someone that I would love to include on the back end to make our back end a little more tough to play against, especially in the net front, on the boards, just overall when you're in your own defensive zone. I'm assuming he probably plays PK. Could you imagine having this big of a boy on our PK too when it's Simon Edmondson with Moritz Seider, and then you still have Ben Sherratt in there? But this is a player I would love to go out and get. Like I said, he brings a lot of hitting. I actually do believe that if you were to go out and acquire him too, and for whatever reason, if the Detroit Red Wings weren't going to make the playoffs, if he had to retain half his cap at $2.3 million, there's going to be a team out there that's going to want a Jamie Oleksiak just for his size and his hitting ability. So your thoughts on Jamie Oleksiak and all the other questions I've asked so far?
I think Jamie Oleksiak would be a really good trade deadline haul. You bring in a guy like that, if you're going on a run or if you're looking at gearing up for one, you bring in a guy like that could change the course of the rest of your season. And when it comes to a 6'7" behemoth coming at you, hitting you, I think he would immediately slot into PK1, which could be a huge boost. And I think he could really change the course of the rest of your season. And I think he would be a really solid trade candidate a trade deadline candidate for sure. Haul wise to get him, I mean, what would we give back? You know, like that's an interesting one, man. Like you're banking on his size and everything and his play. He's 32. Like this is for me. Like I'd probably scout him a lot during the season and then make that decision based off of those findings during the last few weeks of trade deadline. I don't know if I'd bring him in right now. That's just me.
If you were to bring him in right now, the only way that I would make the case to bring him on would be I would have to either move on from Ben Sherratt or Erik Gustafsson.
Yeah, like that's why I was thinking trade deadline, right? Like when things are moving and grooving, you know, does Ben Sherratt get traded? Does this guy come in to replace him? Like, you know, you start looking at stuff like that. Just right now, we're like, it's just the position he plays is not an immediate need that we have. So to go and make a move for that now really doesn't make sense. It would make sense later on after we've made some adjustments and brought in some gap fillers that we truly need to bring in. And then you look at him come whenever trade deadline is. Was it March? No.
March.
Is it March? Yeah. Wow.
March is trade deadline.
Yeah. Jeez, that does need to be sooner. So that's my take on it. I don't know if he comes in and fills a need that we really have, and then you're looking up, like giving up whatever you're going to give up for him. And I just don't think that makes sense. I think it's like, let's scout him, see what he does. And let's maybe, sniff around again come February, March or whatever, the new year, to see where this team's at too, as well, come New Year's Eve or January 1st, whatever that Kenny Holland rule of thumb is. Thanksgiving, I think is what he gets a good read on his team. But yeah, that's what I would do. TDL.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that especially on Seattle's side, they understand that part, right? Too, that you have this player he's on his final year. Why would you go out and trade him now when you know that you can leverage his assets and his skill set at the trade deadline? So I would agree with you there. A lot of teams are going to be salivating over the fact that a 6'7", 250 plus pound player is available at the trade deadline, right? And so Seattle could get a haul for him. I do like the player. I think that he would fit with the Detroit Red Wings. However, you would have to move on from Ben Sherratt or Erik Gustafsson.
No problem.
And you would have to add on top of that probably like a second or something, because you're essentially upgrading from those two, right? Like I mentioned, Oleksiak is essentially Ben Sherratt. So more than likely it would have to be Erik Gustafsson, and you'd have to include a second on top of that.
Just in a second, or Sherratt in a third, Sherratt in a fourth. I don't know.
I try to hesitate not to trade Sherratt because he still brings hitting ability and that grit and toughness. Granted, I know a lot of people like to say that he doesn't do it enough, but he still adds it to this team. And so if you wanted to add, but make it a lot more, it would start with Erik Gustafsson. I'd try to avoid Ben Sherratt. Next up, we're going to go down south, and we're going to be talking about Evan Rodrigues with the Florida Panthers, who comes in at age 31. He can play center and wing, shoots right. He's 5'11", 183 pounds with a cap hit at $3 million with 2 more seasons left on his deal. So this year and then next season. And then this past season, he put up 32 points in 82 games, 15 goals, 17 assists. His career high was back in 21-22 with the Pittsburgh Penguins, putting up 43 points in 82 games, 19 goals, 24 points. I would love this guy. I think he's a good bottom sixer, but this would be the guy that I would want to replace Cop or Comfer.
Yeah.
And Florida's not taking Cop or Comfer.
Right.
So I don't know what else I could say other than I'm out, because I don't think we have anything that Florida wants. Also, Florida needs to save on cap. We don't have anything super cheap. I mean, maybe you can get around doing like Evan Rodrigues for like Jan and Tim Berggren and then include like a second or a third. Third would probably be the most I'd be comfortable with, but I'm out. I'm
with you, dude. I mean, like Rodrigues at best would be a second line player, and I even think him on the second line might be a bit of an ask. And
correct.
Our second line it's set like rock solid, unless of course they make the decision to put Casper on the top line. But then it's like, okay, Cop, Rodrigues. I think I would rather have Cop center the second line than Rodrigues, because I think Rodrigues has been playing the wing mainly. I really don't know too much about him as a centerman, but I know he can play both. I think I'd rather have Kopp. I don't know why, man. I just keep seeing Andrew Kopp play and his game evolve a little bit more as soon as McClellan came in, and I want to see more of it. Like, he left me with so much to desire in terms of what else can he do, and I wish he didn't get injured, man. Like, that was such brutal timing, because I feel like he was playing so well. So I'm out. I would rather have Kopp on the second line. To your point on bottom six, yeah, I think he could actually be a meaningful player on the bottom six, but I just don't know if we have what it takes to get it done, because to your point, we really don't have any cheap, desirable players that we want to part with other than Berggren, so maybe there's something there. But all in all, like, grand scheme of things, you look at his age, and again, back to that whole thing, I'm out on Erod.
Let's move over to another player that is down south, actually not too far away from the Florida Panthers, is Ryan McDonagh over at the Tampa Bay Lightning, coming in at age 36. Ace defense, left-handed shooting defenseman, 6'2", 218 pounds on his last year of his deal, coming in at $6.75 million. That'll take him until he's age 37. Then this past season, put up 31 points in 82 games. That's actually pretty impressive for his age and for a defenseman overall. 4 goals, 27 assists as well. He would essentially be your second pairing left-handed defenseman. I'm not too sure on Ryan McDonagh's ability to be shifted over to the right, but think about it this way. You could either have him or Edvinsson on the top pair playing left, or you can have him on the second pair and then Albert Johansson on the right. I actually don't think that would be that bad of a top four, to be honest with you. But to acquire Ryan McDonagh, I actually don't think it's going to be a lot. Let's just talk about some of the trades that he's been involved in.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So it started all the way back in 2009. That was a huge trade that happened that sent him over to the New York Rangers, sent from the Montreal Canadiens. We won't touch on that one. He was traded then 9 years later in 2018, going to Tampa Bay along with JT Miller. Tampa Bay sent over to the New York Rangers Nemestikov, Libor, Ajak, Brett Howden, 2018 first and the 2019 second. And that second became a first if the Lightning won the Stanley Cup in either 18 or 19, which they did not. And then not only 4 years later, he gets traded again, going over to the Nashville Predators, and then Tampa Bay gets Grant Mismash, and then Felipe Myers. Those are some fantastic names. And then was traded back to Tampa Bay just last year from the Nashville Predators. Tampa Bay got Ryan McDonagh and a 2024 fourth round pick. Okay, Carlo. And then Nashville receives a 2025 second round pick and a 2024 seventh round pick. I would get McDonagh, and the only thing I am offering to Tampa Bay, we're taking on that cap. I'll give you Erik Gustafsson, and I'll give you a fourth and a seventh.
Yeah, I don't know if Tampa's doing it.
They move on from cap. They get a defensive player, and then they can go out and sign some more players if they really wanted to, because now they have more cap.
$2 million. Yeah, okay, that's that.
The only reason why I would see Tampa saying no to that is because Erik Gustafsson does not fill the hole that you're now filling with McDonagh being gone. Because McDonagh here, I would say Gustafsson more like right here. So that's a pretty sizable gap there. So maybe somehow you can convince him Sherratt. I really don't know here, but that's what I would try and do it. But I think it would be somewhere around there. It would be a second and a seventh, but I don't think him being a year older, that a second should be included. And I wouldn't give him the 2026 second, but your thoughts on Ryan McDonagh and what he could do for this team, because I think he would be great for this team. Tough to get off the puck. He can absolutely be an assist guy, just someone who facilitates the puck.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could lock it down for sure. Defensively, I think he could play very, very well defensively. I mean, he's got like an unbelievable career plus minus too. So I mean, like, back to my point, I think he could really lock things down for us. I really don't know. I don't mind the get. Like, I don't mind what you offered to get him. Yeah, I mean, if it's Gustafsson, do you have Edvinsson, Seider, Sherratt, Johansson, or do you have Edvinsson, Seider, McDonagh, Johansson as your top four?
McDonagh, Johansson, Sherratt, and then JBD on the third pair.
I'm into it.
It's definitely an upgrade. It would 100% be an upgrade.
It's for a year. Yeah. Like, he's got, like, his age is a little scary. Like, can he hang for a full season being, he's going to be turning 37?
The question that you have to ask is, do you believe Erik Gustafsson can be better than what he was last year?
Yeah, that's a good question, dude. I don't know. I mean, I'm just going off of what we saw in the Worlds, and it looked like he was actually playing pretty decent.
Yeah.
But that's all I have to go off of, right? I mean, I want to say I hope so. I mean, can you be worse than last season? Like, he was pretty bad.
At the start of the season, dude, it was like, wow, Steve Yzerman choked on this signing. When can he buy him out as soon as possible?
Yeah, I know, man. It was bad. So I don't really hate on Gustafsson that much because he's last year at $2 million. It's really not that bad.
Yeah, super cheap.
But I just hope that he's ready to get into a contract year and play his gear off. Like, just let's go.
For his sake and for our sake too. It's on both sides, right? Because like you said, it's a contract year. So if he wants to continue playing in the NHL and make some decent money next season, he's got to step.
Yeah, there's another deal to be had there. He's just got to go and earn it, right? So I'm hoping he has a real big bounce back, because I don't know if it gets much worse than last season, to be honest with you, with Gustafsson. So yeah, okay.
And then there was Justin Hall.
Yeah, I'm not even entertaining him in the lineup right now. But
I was just saying it could be as bad as like what Justin Hall could do. What's worse, Justin Hall all the time or Erik Gustafsson at the start of last season? Which one's worse?
Think Justin Hall all the time. And I just like the thing that pops into me is I'll take you back to that game against Montreal. You already know where I'm going with this.
We'll call Caulfield.
How do you get out-muscled by Cole Caulfield? How?
Maybe we should let's just trade for him so that way it doesn't ever happen again.
I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. So anyways, that's that.
All right, let's move on to the second to last player, and then we got one more after this on this long episode. Let's move on west over to the Anaheim Ducks with Mason McTavish, 22 years old, can play center, can play the wing, shoots left, 6'1", 218 pounds. Currently has no contract with the Anaheim Ducks as a restricted free agent. His previous cap hit came just under $900,000 for his entry-level deal. This past season, Carlo, in 76 games, he put up 52 points, 22 goals, 30 assists. I'm just going to ask, what would you even do with a Mason McTavish? Would you put him in on the wing, or would you convert him into a center? What would you do if you were Steve Yzerman? What would you do with a Mason McTavish?
I'd put him on the wing. So remember how Kasper came up and gave Larkin and Raymond those legs, went into those dirty areas, allowed them to go and create some space. I think this is a double box checker because I think McTavish can do that, which allows for Kasper to continue to drive that second line. And then you have Kopp, Comfer, and Rasmussen and everybody else in the bottom six where they frankly should be. This is a perfect move for Detroit to potentially look at. He's 22 years old. He's not aging out anytime soon, like those 28-year-olds, those 29-year-olds. His age is perfect. His versatility is perfect. 6'1", 218 pounds. That boy is thick. Yeah, dude, this one here, like even his production has been pretty decent considering. And I think you put him on the top line with Larks and Ray. I think this guy hits a whole new high and a whole new level of playing hockey. And I would do this deal more than I would Jason Robertson. I'm going to say that.
To me, I actually think Mason McTavish and Marco Kasper are the exact same player.
Very, very similar.
I think that I think their careers are gonna be very, very identical. I mean, you even look at it right now. Marco Kasper's 21, McTavish is 22. They're both 6'1". They're both 200 plus. Marco Kasper comes in at 203. He's probably put on some weight this summer. And then, like we just mentioned, he's 218 pounds for Mason McTavish. They're essentially the same player. But I would agree with you. I would prefer to put Mason McTavish over on the wing versus Marco Kasper, because we've said this ad nauseum that the overall plan is to build Marco Kasper into that 2C role.
Yeah.
So we're going to go out and get a Mason McTavish who also can play that 2C role, but we're going to utilize him on the wing more so. And then if Dylan Larkin gets hurt or Marco Kasper gets hurt, then there's your top six center that you can replace with. And then that also will give Nate Danielson a little bit more time to get familiar playing the center role in the NHL as a 3C. And you don't have to force him to play 2C when he may not be ready yet. But we just don't know yet with a Nate Danielson as well. But yeah, if I was to go after someone. Now, you mentioned Mason McTavish over Jason Robertson.
I think I would, man. I know that's a bold take, but he's 22. You never know what could happen when he's playing with the right guys on the top line, getting those minutes. And I also think getting him, what we would need to give up to acquire him would be less than what we would need to give up to acquire Jason Robertson. And for that reason, selfishly, is why I think I'd rather go after McTavish than Robertson.
Yes and no to that. I'm over here kind of like, maybe not. I hear your perspective, though, because Jason Robertson, already established player. Teams are already knowing what they're going to get out of a Jason Robertson. So, yeah, at least 2 first-round picks, a player, and this and that, this and that, and this and that. And then, if you know that episode of SpongeBob, leave it down in the comments. And then Mason McTavish, he's a former first-round, 3rd overall pick back in 2021. And you mentioned his age. Yeah, so, like, for Jason Robertson, you'll get him for 8 to 10 years, maybe 11 years if you're lucky. Looking at Mason McTavish right now, you're going to get him for 10 to 13 years more than likely because at the tail end of that 13 years, he'd be 35 years old. He'd probably still be playing up until he's like 37, 38 years old. So I see your perspective from that standpoint. The only thing is that because of Mason McTavish being so much younger, and because in his 3 NHL seasons, put up 43 points, 42, then 52, I would assume that the expectation is that year over year, he keeps on increasing. So what do we think is the ceiling, and what does Anaheim think the ceiling is for a Mason McTavish? 70-point guy?
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking 70.
So then 70-point guy, you'd be looking at something like it would be more than what you acquired for Alex DeBrincat, because that's essentially what Alex DeBrincat was, right? That 60 to 70-point guy. So that at least is a minimum of a first, a prospect, and then probably a ready now player. So to me, it's 2028 first, maybe the 2026 first. It might be the 2026 first. It depends on how far you think that you're going to make it into the playoffs. I'd probably include them Michael Rasmussen and then a prospect.
Nate Danielson?
To acquire Mason McTavish. Say that again?
Danielson?
I don't think it would have to be that high of a level of a prospect, because you're giving them a first. Okay. I think you're looking more so at the next level of prospects. So like the Ammos, maybe Carter Mazur.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can see that.
Someone who's like on the cuff, but still considered like a prospect, because you look at the roster right now, and like every time I go on Puckpedia, Carl, I can't find space to put Carter Mazur in anywhere unless I make a trade.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
So I mean, that just goes to show you, though. It's like anything you want to do with this team, it's like it requires a move to be made. So just hurry up and make the move. Damn it.
Exactly. But in terms of basically what you said, McTavish over Robertson, I'm 50-50 on that. But I see your perspective on that.
That's why I said it. It's a 50-50 thing, dude. Like I'm not saying it's the right answer by any means. I just think that I think we would reap a little bit more benefit out of going that route, and I don't think we'd have to give up. It's mainly looking at, in my head, what we would have to give up for each player, and I just think it would be less for McTavish because he's not so established, but I think he has a lot of room to grow. And I love the fact that like I really started watching him the Canada U20 where he captained that team. He captained actually a few. I think he captained the U18 team as well. But I think even right now he's just
with the Ducks right now too. I believe.
Dude, he's 22. Like, yeah. So he's got that captain clutch type of gene and that character, and that's why I'm leaning that side there. So yeah, but I don't. I said it because it is a 50-50 thing. It's like, oh my God, what do I do here? And that's the whole point, is to have some fun with this. But hey, let us know. What would you do? Would you go Mason McTavish? What does it look like? Or would you go Jason Robertson? What does that look like? And then give us a why. Give us a why you would do it.
We might have to make that a poll on Twitter later today. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah. We might post that. Who knows? All right, Carlo, let's make it over to the final player. Last but not least, Marco Rossi with the Minnesota Wild, who currently has no contract, but he is 23 years old, can play center, shoots left. He's 5'9", so a shorty like me, 192 pounds. His contract was just under $900,000 for his entry-level deal as well. And this past season with the Minnesota Wild, in 82 games played, he put up 60 points, 24 goals, and 36 assists. I'm just going to be straight up. I'm not interested in a Marco Rossi, especially when you already have Dylan Larkin, Marco Kasper, Nate Danielson. Now, if you can convince me that Marco Rossi is going to be that much better on the wing than he would be at center, or vice versa with Marco Kasper and Nate Danielson, then I can see a world. But right now, I don't see a fit for a Marco Rossi on this team. Unless he also wants to play only wing too, right?
Which I don't think he does. Didn't he come out and say he wants to play center and he wants more minutes as a centerman?
That would be news to me, so I'm not sure where you got that from.
I could be making it up. It's very possible, but I'm pretty sure there was a report that came out that he was. I'd have to dig back, but something came out about him in the position in the minutes. That's what I vaguely remember.
It could be true. It could be true. But I would love to have a Marco Rossi on the team, especially since after this season, I mean, for someone who's 23 coming in, putting up 60 points, just trying to imagine it too. On the top line, Marco Rossi, Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, or even on the second line, it's Rossi, Casper, Kane. I'm just not sure. And his height, it does no one any favors. It's basically like having another Alex DeBrincat just at the center position, to be honest.
Right? Timing based off who we have today. It's just not like anybody. I'm sure anybody would love Marco Rossi on their team, but who are you moving? And it's just like, we're not really prepared to move DeBrincat. We're not really prepared to move Casper because he's playing very well and he's starting to develop into a really, really good player. So yeah, it's just timing. It's just not the right time for a Marco Rossi on this team. So that's why I would say, like, yeah, I'm good.
So let's backtrack a little bit, Carlo. Out of all the names that we have said, and I will reiterate all those names, we started out with Jason Robertson, made our way over to Brian Rust, Erik Karlsson, Ricard Rakell, Jared McCann, Jamie Oleksiak, Mason McTavish, Marco Rossi, Ryan McDonagh, and then Evan Rodrigues. That exactly wasn't in order, but yeah, you guys got the picture there if you guys are watching or listening to us. But Carlo, if you had to pick one player, who are you targeting the most out of all those names?
If I had to pick one, I'm going after McTavish. I'm going after McTavish. That's my final answer.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's you're getting him for the long term. You're getting him for the long term, not for the short term, like a bunch of these other players. The only other players that would come in for the long term would be Rossi and Robertson.
Yeah.
And that's clearly the mold that Steve Yzerman is trying to gather and target when it comes to these trades, right? I mean, he kind of did that with Alex DeBrincat. Granted, he only signed him to, a 4-year deal. I do actually believe that Alex DeBrincat's next deal is going to be either similar or a little bit longer, maybe 5 or 6 years, and just let him retire as a Detroit Red Wing. But that's what you're looking to do. And the trade might be difficult and hard to stomach at first, but once you do it, it would all make sense, right? And there's no secret that Pat Verbeek and Steve Yzerman, pretty tight.
They're boys.
Pretty tight.
They're boys. I don't know if they're doing anybody any favors, but they definitely probably speak on the phone more often than not. So, man, that would be really cool. Yep. They're going to hang in during the summer. I'm pretty sure they're boys. Like didn't Verbeek follow Steve from Tampa to Detroit too? Like when he came. So I mean, look, and there's all these guys they all talk and whatever they do, have a pops, couple cigars. They're talking all the time, and I would hope that McTavish conversation came up between those two guys and what it would take. But then again, like you look at Anaheim's team, dude. And like I've been talking to Devillano about this so much. Like they look like a fun team, dude. Like they look like a team that I want to really pay attention to. And like they take out a McTavish out of that lineup, and they got a pretty big hole in that 2C position now. So they're obviously going to be looking to bring in someone who can go right into that 2C spot, which I don't know if we really have that to have what it takes to do it. But man, it's fun to dream about.
You know who the Ducks remind me of? The West Coast version of the Buffalo Sabres, but they're going to actually do it right.
Well, dude, I think they're on their way to doing it right. Like, go look at their lineup if you haven't seen it. Like, go look how it's configured. Like, it's
I'm looking at it right now.
Like,
Cutter Gauthier, Leo Carlsson, Alex Killorn, Chris Kreider, Mason McTavish, Troy Terry, Frank Vetrano, Ryan Strome, Mikhail Granlund. That's a really good top 9 right there for the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it would take to pry McTavish out of that spot, which is a very important spot as the 2C. I mean, we would want to put him on the wing. That's what I would want to do with him, is put him on the wing so Casper can continue to play and drive that second line. But then, Anaheim's got that hole now in the 2C who's taking that spot. I don't know. That's where things get interesting, and it's probably a good spot to a little cliffhanger to end it on too, because what do you do if you're Anaheim? What do you ask for? This is where we ask you guys to fire us up some comments here, because it's like, we could all want whoever, these guys, these really good players, these young players. You got to remember, like, they're leaving the team, which means we're leaving that team with a hole. You got to patch that, right? You got to make that hole disappear. So what is it going to take to bring in a Mason McTavish? What is it going to take to bring in a Jason Robertson? Like, this is where it gets complicated. It's easy to say, oh, I'd love to have McTavish, I'd love to have Robertson. Cool. What's it going to take to do it? And let's hear from you guys. And we'll break it all down on the next episode next week to see what you guys come up with and see if it's something that maybe we'll throw it into the Puckpedia Be a GM trade generator, and we'll see if it flies. Zach, what do you got?
I couldn't have said it any better. All I can see here from now is say thank you to everyone for joining us on this brand new episode. Once again, if you are returning, if you are brand new and made it to the tail end of this episode,
bravo.
Claps to you.
Bravo and thank you. Absolutely.
What do you win? Another episode from us later this week, the midweek episode, and then every episode, it's going to be on Sundays. I did want to leave it out there that we didn't just pick these players out of a hat. We didn't draw names, nothing like that. We gathered all these names from articles. We will be linking those articles into the description of this video so you guys can go ahead and check those out yourselves. But yeah, like Carlos said, leave us some comments. We want to be engageful with you guys. We want to create more content for you guys. So the more you guys talk to us, the more we can do for you guys as well, for Detroit Red Wings fans alike. And so, Carlo, I think here now is a good time to wrap it in. And so we'll see y'all on the next one. See ya.
Later.